first started fishing at the age of 7 when my granddad took me down to a local council estate lake, about 100 yards, 200 yards from my house. After obviously catching a few little fish and having a scour around and enjoying myself, I basically took the bug for carp fishing from there. Then at the age of 10, I got my first carp rod and reel, and it wasn't long after that until I landed my first carp. And from that day onwards, carp fishing really struck basically the challenge of catching fish really stuck to me, and it's something that I really wanted to do. From when I got a motor, I basically could travel further afield, and this opened a lot of windows, and I started targeting certain individual carp that I wanted. I was obviously picking them out of the weekly magazines, local ones, not too far afield. And yeah, as age progressed and obviously turned into this more growing up, family orientated man I am, I had to obviously try a little bit closer to home again. And after landing a job close to home and obviously jumping on at April, getting a new syndicate ticket for a lake, what was 10 minutes from work and 20 minutes from home, made fishing overnight, quick overnighters, very easy for me. So from the first session, after having a quick lap or two round and getting a little bit of information off the past syndicate members, I headed for an area of the lake where I thought it's a good starting point, and obviously I've got a fresh start and a fresh canvas to start learning. But from my first session, it didn't go quite as well as I thought. For the first 3 to 4 weeks of the month, just getting 1 or 2 nights in a week, I didn't manage to catch many. And it wasn't till early May time that I landed my first bite of a quick session after work. I literally came down for a walk round. I wasn't planning on fishing, and I saw 2 or 3 boshing out in a certain area, so I unpacked the rods out the car, and lo and behold, 20 minutes later, after putting a bait on the fish, I landed a lovely 21 fully scaled mirror. First one out of the venue, so I was well happy and well chuffed. So leaving that evening, I went home with a big smile on my face, and then started planning now with the confidence to get a few more fish. The following few weeks, I found an area where the fish had been holding up after walking around the venue after work near enough every night on early season. Like I say, I located a good shoal of fish which were holding next to a plateau, which was basically in dead centre of the lake, so the fish could travel either end of it. It could go left or right, but at one stage the fish was always going to be passing. So obviously I set my stall up, started putting a little bit of bait in there on these nights after work, and I finally got down for a quick night session, and I ended up landing 4 fish from that session. The first fish was one of the target fish from the venue that I wanted, the double roll linear, and the final fish of that set was another target fish that I wanted, the original, one of the original commons from the lake. So I was well over the moon with that. But still, the reason why I joined the lake is I wanted to catch this one certain fish. And this one certain fish is what we call one peck. And this fish, obviously learning off the lads who were also on the syndicate and past catch reports, that I figured the fish came from one area at one certain time of year. So me being me, I decided to start trickling bait in this area, because I thought, well, this is going to be the best chance of catching this fish. So after work for the next following 3 or 4 days, I came down with half a kilo of bait, just trickling it over this certain spot. I know anglers, the weekend anglers, well, I couldn't stop people going in there or anything like that, so obviously I just progressed and picked the perfect timing for it. It was, if I remember rightly, it was a Monday night, and I just arrived straight from work. If I remember, it was blowing an absolute hooligan. This big westerly turned in, it was due to rain, and also that night there was a big moon on. So obviously I got there, put the rods out, baited up. On the night itself I didn't really put a great deal of bait in, maybe a key and a half. I sat down and sat back and waited. Within a couple of hours the weather had changed and it was now heavy rain, really windy. Perfect, well, pucker carp conditions. So my confidence was there, I was up. I think hoping that I would quickly get a bite. But around 9 o'clock my mate rang me up and we were chatting on the phone, obviously about this fish and the area that I was in and when it was last out and all the other things that you go through, the motions of when you've got this carp on your mind. And as I looked down, I was, well, my attraction to the rod, I had a single beep on the left-hand rod. So I walked up to the rod, put the head torch on, had a look back down. Nothing had occurred. So I sat back down on the bed, just chatting away to my mate again. And then another beep on the same rod. So obviously I took a slow walk up there, obviously to the rod, see what anything was occurring on it. And just as I was just about to get up to the rod started to pull tighter, a few more bleeps. Tip was just bouncing round a bit. So I had to put the phone down to my mate and I lifted into this fish and I felt solid resistance straight away. It was just plodding on the far bank. I could feel it going through, just holding itself on the far margin. I then gained a bit of control, getting a bit of line back on the fish. And then, obviously, as I got control of it, the fish then came towards me. It came in at some pace, and then all of a sudden, as it was under the rod tip, decided it wanted to, well, create havoc, really. It was up and down the margins either side of me. I just couldn't do anything with it. It was just really weighty. So I thought, well, that's when my knees started to shake. Then I knew it was a good fish. And after putting the net in the water and slipping the head torch on, this lump of a fish, as I shone out, basically flanked me. And from then, that point that I saw it flanking me, I knew which fish it was straight away. I knew it was the big one. You could tell by the sheer size of the fish. So after that, like you say, my legs went to jelly and my head was all over the place, but I finally got to slip it in the net. And obviously peering into the net, it revealed that it was the fish that I was after, the fish called wompeck. Well, don't know why they call it wompeck, because it's got both its pecks, it's just its pelvic fin it's missing. But anyway, I slipped in the retainer for 5 minutes so I could just obviously chill myself down, because I was ecstatic then, I was buzzing. You know that feeling, you've caught the fish that you want. So yeah, I was really happy with myself. I gave the mate a phone call and told him which fish it was, and he was over the moon for me then. So, but then I had to do self-takes with it. And it wasn't the greatest of conditions to do self-takes, because we've got hooligan winds, torrential rain, and it was pitch black. But I managed to get it back. I managed to do some pictures and weighed her up, and she went 33 pounds. But to me, when it's like that, size is irrelevant to me. It's the fish that I'm after. It's the target. It's my challenge that I've achieved. And as like you say, me being me, I was over the moon. So from that session, I'd landed the target, well, the big one, the main target. So I decided to continue fishing the lake because there were other fish to catch. There was 3 more old scaly mirrors that I really wanted to catch. So I just kept persisting. And then started fishing a different area of the lake, keeping it regular, baiting it up. And I'll keep regularly getting hits from there. And it wasn't long until I'd landed 2 more of the target fish that I wanted. A fish called drop-tail linear and another one called the sergeant. So from that I had a little bit of a break because the warm weather had come in, the fish had started to spawn. So basically I needed a little bit of a break myself as well. But returning from that break, I came down. It took me quite a few weeks to find them again, to get the location right again. I was popping down every night of the week, like you say, after work. But I just couldn't find them, so I did a couple of blanks. And then, lo and behold, one day I walked down here and I found them at the completely opposite end of the lake to what had been previous, in the really thick, heavy weed. So like I say, I got myself back in, baiting backup spots, finding areas with a lead, just a bare lead, making sure everything's right. But in here, it's not there's not really hard spots. It's more you're fishing over top of silkweed, or you're fishing over really silty patches, or in between holes in Canadian. It's a bit of a hard place well, it's a bit of an hard lake to find a clear spot. So I was settling with fishing on silkweed, pop-ups over the top of that. And like I say, I kept baiting and baiting, kept putting the time in. I got a first hit on there, which I landed 5 fish, I believe, in one morning from one of these spots where I'd located the fish. I lost a good fish as well, but I can't really say, I don't know which fish it was. It just felt weighty and I didn't really get a good view of it. And then on the following session, I landed another 4 fish, but the final one was the final piece of the pull, which was blind eye. So that one in the net, happily secure in the net, that was job done for mesters. The one thing I have learnt about fishing mesters is be capable of fishing in heavy weed. I've learnt a lot and took a lot from obviously the weed situation and the areas I've been fishing. It's normally a bit of a weird one because you're normally looking for clear spots, but I found a lot of my fish have come off the shallower weedy areas. Personally, it's the challenge of carp fishing. It's always a learning curve. There's always something new to put into practice, and that's why I'll always be a carp angler.